What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, coming off of a disappointing Thanksgiving Day loss by the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants went into this game, played a pretty good first half, second half, kind of, got exposed there and let one slip to the Dallas Cowboys in Week 12. 7-4 record coming off of this loss against Dallas. And I've got some main takeaways that I want to go ahead and dive into. But before we dive deeper into all of that, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you viewers out there. Anyone who's a regular viewer of the channel, thank you very much. We are very thankful for you here with Empire Sports Media and at Fireside Giants. Thank you very much. And I hope you had a great day filled with family, friends, smiles, laughter, and cheers, all that kind of stuff. Happy holidays to everybody. But let's go ahead and dive into this Giants loss against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, falling down to 7-4, two losses in a row for the Giants. It's been a real sluggish start to the second half of the season ever since that bye week. Go into the bye week with a loss against Seattle and come out of it, get a win against the Texans, but two losses in a row here, and it's kind of looking a little dire for the New York Giants. Now, today's game, I think there were some solid performances from the New York Giants in the first half. The Giants looked great, honestly. It was a very well-fought first half of football, but this was a tale of two halves in this game. Second half, Dallas came out there. They had all cylinders firing, and they went out and got a really solid clutch victory for themselves behind the backs of CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Ezekiel Elliott. All the stars really came out to play for the Dallas Cowboys, but the same can't really be said for the New York Giants. I think that the offense was primarily carried by Daniel Jones, who had a pretty good performance, but the Giants kind of needed more from Saquon Barkley in today's game. And granted, it's kind of hard for a running back to do a whole lot when, you've got 3/5 of your offensive line on the bench with the sidelined with injuries. There wasn't really much for Saquon Barkley, but he did have a couple opportunities, and a couple of those opportunities were squandered. Of course, at fourth down late in the game, the Giants convert that. Saquon Barkley catches that ball. They're still in it. That really killed all the momentum that they had. Saquon Barkley dropping that pass on 4th and 1. You get that first down there. You're rolling. Your offense is moving. The Giants had a real shot at keeping this game competitive and maybe even putting it into overtime at some point if Saquon Barkley was able to haul that one in. But of course, he didn't. And now the Giants are sitting here at 7-4. Now, I don't want to complain too hard and, be too negative because I thought this was actually a positive performance from the New York Giants. Again, going into this game with plenty of your defensive secondary just out with injuries. I mean, that secondary is just filled with holes right now. You've got Adoree Jackson out for weeks. Fabian Moreau was unable to play. We know Xavier McKinney is on injured reserve. The Giants are not the team that they're supposed to be, right? And they still went out there, went toe-to-toe with Dallas on Thanksgiving and made it a game. They only lost by one possession, lost by 8 points. It was a well-fought game by the New York Giants. They were in it from start to finish. They played with the lead for a good portion of the game. They just were not able to capitalize on a lot of those opportunities. Dallas with some stupid, costly turnovers in the first half, and the Giants didn't really capitalize on them. That should have been 14 points. Instead, it was 3. So you look at how the Giants really played and reacted to the big plays that the defense made. The offense let them down in many different categories, and the offense really, at the end of the day, it's tough to really get the ball moving like that with all of those injuries. You've got so many players out of the lineup and injured. So for the New York Giants, it just feels like it all stacked up on top of them, and it became too much here. I think there were a lot of plays where, if the offense is able to execute a little bit better, this is a real game, and the Giants have a very solid chance of winning this game. But with these injuries stacked on top of this team, it makes it really difficult to go out there and find ways to win. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stats here and give my takeaways on them. Again, Daniel Jones, 21 for 35, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He played a really good, clean game of football, pretty much what we're accustomed to from Daniel Jones in the 2022 season. Not putting the ball in harm's way. He did throw 1 interception, but it was wiped away by a penalty. And if you take a look at the way that he played, I'm pleased with it. He was aggressive when he needed to be. He ripped a couple deep passes at Darius Slayton, one of which was hauled in. An incredible catch by Darius Slayton down inside the 5. And honestly, Darius Slayton is playing some great football, guys. The Giants really need to consider extending him. Now, he wasn't perfect, but considering the fact that this is a player who used to be a WR6, the 6th receiver on the Giants depth chart, he's risen to the occasion being the primary receiver in the Giants offense, and he's made some phenomenal plays to give a spark to the New York Giants offense. But the real disappointment of the game, like I said, is Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants. 11 carries for 39 yards and 1 touchdown. Longest run of the day for only 10 yards. The Giants needed more from Saquon Barkley today. In Dallas, all of their stars came out to play. Dak Prescott had a great game. Ezekiel Elliott had a phenomenal game. CeeDee Lamb was unstoppable at times. But the Giants' one real star on offense is Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley failed to go out there, execute, and really be a difference maker. And in my opinion, that is what really damned the Giants in today's matchup. I think that if Saquon Barkley goes out there and rushes for over 100 yards, it's a different game. But granted, the Giants didn't really choose to run their offense through Saquon Barkley. First 6 plays of the game were all passing plays. And the Giants were clearly more reliant on the passing game than they were on the rushing game. The game plan called for a lot more passing plays out of Daniel Jones than it did for rushing plays out of Saquon Barkley. That could be, the fault of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, but at the end of the day, I just think Dallas's rush defense was very solid, and the Giants were not ready to go out there and run the ball and play with a lead against Dallas. So they went out there, tried to make some plays. Again, I think that Daniel Jones did a great job extending plays, getting out of the pocket, moving, throwing the ball on the run, coming off of the play action and finding those open receivers. I like the way that Daniel Jones played today. He needs to do a little bit more, but so does everybody else. And it's kind of tough when Daniel Jones is without Wan'Dale Robinson, without Sterling Shepard. Kenny Golladay doesn't even play anymore. So the Giants are missing a lot of components to their offense. I think the discussion about today being the OBJ Bowl, the Odell Beckham Jr. Bowl, it's a valid discussion to have. Odell Beckham Jr., he's got a visit lined up with the Dallas Cowboys. He's got one tentatively planned with the New York Giants as well. I think when you take a look at this Giants offense in today's game, they need a spark. They need some more receiving talent. Daniel Jones does not have enough weapons to utilize in his offensive attack, in this passing attack. So I think the Giants need to go out there and strongly consider making that move to go ahead and poach Odell Beckham Jr. away from the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has enough receiving talent, clearly. Those receivers were playing phenomenal today against our shredded up secondary. Michael Gallup has hands like glue. CeeDee Lamb is a force to be reckoned with. The New York Giants need to go out there and make sure that they don't add to that arsenal with Odell Beckham Jr. Go ahead and get some talent in their lineup instead and bring OBJ home to New York. So that's just my take on the OBJ Bowl aspect of this game. But I want to talk about some of these key players on defense, most notably Kayvon Thibodeaux, who had probably his breakout game, even though he didn't manage to record anything in the stat sheet. He had 1 total tackle, but that dude had to have had like close to 10 pressures on the game. He had multiple QB hits and knockdowns. I thought that he played his best game of the season so far. I was very impressed with Kayvon Thibodeaux, and I think that's going to be a main takeaway for a lot of Giants fans from this game. No, it wasn't a perfect game. The Giants didn't come away with the win, but they had a few players really rise to the occasion and play well in a very crucial divisional matchup, one of those being the 5th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Again, I thought that he played a great game. I was really excited to see how frequently he was getting into the backfield and pressuring Dak Prescott. And honestly, guys, he should have had a couple sacks in this game, and he should have had more pressures, but they do not give that man any holding calls. He was held constantly in this game. Tyron Smith was getting his arm all around the neck of Kayvon Thibodeaux, play after play after play. There should have been so many holding calls that didn't go Kayvon's way, and there should have been so many sacks that would have been, if not for all of the holding calls that were missed against Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I'm really frustrated with the referees in this game. I thought the referees did not really call a clean and fair game for the New York Giants, and Kayvon Thibodeaux doesn't get held on some of those plays. He gets a sack, and he probably changes the trajectory of this game, the landscape of this game, with a couple of really crucial plays. But nonetheless, I just want to say I think that Kayvon Thibodeaux played a phenomenal game for the New York Giants today. I'm excited for him to hopefully continue to build on this going forward and have a really great second half to his rookie season. But again, Dallas, they had a lot of mistakes in that first half. The Giants had an opportunity to capitalize on those plays, and only scoring 3 points off of 2 turnovers in the first half is inexcusable. The execution needs to be better. The Giants scored a touchdown on that first drive coming off of a turnover, wiped away by a stupid penalty by Tyree Phillips, and the Giants settle for 3 points on a Graham Gano field goal. Now, listen, Graham Gano is great, but I don't really want Graham Gano kicking that many field goals. I want touchdowns. The Giants need to start scoring touchdowns, executing these plays, putting together scoring drives, because settling for 3 in a situation like that, it kills you for the game, and that's really what happened to the Giants today. I think the main takeaways from this game are the fact that the Giants have too many injuries to compete with top-level teams right now. They can compete, but beating these teams, they are missing pieces of their defense, missing pieces of their offense that are desperately needed to be out there in order to win some of these tougher matchups. And another main takeaway, the Giants need to execute better. They're getting themselves really close. They're hanging in there with some of these top teams, hanging in there with Dallas. This was a close game, a winnable game, anybody's game, but the Giants get in position to make plays, change the game, take advantage, and build some momentum, and they fail to execute. 4th and 1, pass to Saquon Barkley, drop, get a field goal out of a turnover on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott with 2 interceptions today. You intercept him, you go down there, and all you get is 3 points. Giants get great field positioning and somehow only end up with 3 points or go 3 and out routinely in these games. So those are the 2 main takeaways for the New York Giants. Number 1, they need some of that talent back from injury that they just don't have. They need it desperately. And number 2, they need to start executing on those crucial matchups, those crucial plays where they have an advantage. Take that advantage and get those touchdowns. The Giants, again, squandering many crucial opportunities and really damaging themselves for this game and for a lot of games this season. Defensively, I also think Julian Love played a great game, had himself an interception. Rodarius Williams coming out of nowhere to make that pick on what was kind of a weird and no-call play. Very interesting stuff there, but Rodarius Williams, 6th-round pick in last year's draft, torn ACL, great story for him to step into this game with the Giants completely shredded in the secondary and get himself an interception. But this game was a really hard-fought one. Again, I think that you take a look at the New York Giants, they have a lot of divisional matchups coming up. They need to get healthy somehow. They're going to have to wait. They have a long stretch here. No game this Sunday. They play next Sunday, so they've got 10 full days to go ahead, rest, get ready for Washington, and that's going to be a crucial matchup for the Giants. You got Washington, then Philly, and then Washington again. So for the New York Giants, they definitely need to go ahead and try to get healthy. That is the number one thing. And when they're back out there on the field next week, there's a turnover, they need to capitalize. Execution and health are the 2 things that the Giants don't have right now, and that is unfortunately why they're starting to lose football games. But again, hope you all had a very happy Thanksgiving, ate some really good turkey. I know that I did. Put myself into a food coma for a little while there, but I had a great day, and I had a great time watching our New York Giants unfortunately lose, but they did put together a pretty well-fought game, especially in that first half. I was having a great time watching that first half of football with the Giants on top going into halftime with the really boring performance by the Jonas Brothers. But again, I hope you all enjoyed this video and enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Giants. Comment down below what your thoughts are on the game. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Let's go Giants and happy Thanksgiving.